Hello guys, welcome to the channel once more. We are downtown in Deadwood, South Dakota, and this is around the area where you had the Nortal and Man's Inn, number 10, in Deadwood, South Dakota. So on August 1st in 1876, Bill Hickok was in here playing poker with a group of other men, and one drunk fellow by the name of Jack McCall is reported to have come into the bar and joined the poker table, and then he lost heavily that night, on that night of August 1st. But then Bill Hickok offered to give him money, told him to fold his cards and come back the next day. He also gave him money for breakfast for the following morning. So McCall left. Now the next day McCall returned, and he had a gun with him. And Wild Bill Hickok will always sit in this bar with his back to a wall so he could see who is coming in, who is leaving the bar. But on that fateful day, he sat, and all the seats were taken, all the places on the table were taken. So he sat with his back facing the door, this door right here. And what happened was, he asked two of the fellows at least two times to exchange places so he could move and have his back to the wall and he could see who is coming in and out. But that did not happen. So at a certain point in time, while they were playing their game of poker, Jack McCall, you can see his name right here, he walked right in, pulled out a pistol and shot Wild Bill Hickok point blank range to the back of the head. He died immediately on the spot. So what happened was, Jack McCall was arrested, and back then this was known as the Dakota Territory. It was in unincorporated Indian Territory, so they didn't have regular law enforcement here. It was just the Wild West. So a group of businessmen and miners and people who came out here to seek their fortune, they gathered and they held some form of trial, and they found Jack McCall not guilty. So Jack McCall was a free man, and he walked. That's how things happened. But a few years later, he would be rearrested and tried again for the same crime. There was no claim of double jeopardy because at the time the first trial took place, this wasn't part of the United States. It was Indian Territory. It was unincorporated. Oh, check this out. There's a Mahindra Roxor. It's from India.
I'll be ready.
Good. Oh, sorry. I digress. Let's go back.
I'll be ready for interview questions a little bit. It's only questions $1, correct answers are $2 because I gotta get ready for winter. But feel free to ask me.
Okay. So sorry about that interruption. So like I was saying, so the second trial for Jack McCall wasn't considered double jeopardy because the first trial was not considered a proper trial. During the second trial, he was found guilty, and he was sentenced to death by hanging. He was hung, and a few years later the body was exhumed and transferred somewhere else. When they exhumed the body, they said the noose was still around his neck, Jack McCall. Just before he was hanged, Jack McCall was interviewed by a reporter, and Jack McCall is said to have told the reporter that he was avenging the death of his brother who was killed by Wild Bill Hickok somewhere in Kansas. Now, Wild Bill Hickok was a lawman in Kansas. That's a known fact, but there's no link between him and a certain McCall who was killed there by gunmen in Kansas. So there's no record to show that McCall was the brother of the McCall killed by gunmen in Kansas. Anyways, so yeah, Wild Bill Hickok got buried at the local cemetery here, which had and then it filled up, and then they transferred the body somewhere else, and they put some memorials in lieu of the body. And when they exhumed the body, actually, it's reported that the body wasn't well embalmed, so it some of the calcium from the hills around here leached into the body and replaced the flesh. So it said that the body weighed about 400 pounds when they went to exhume it, and the person who was in charge, or the mortician, whoever was in charge of the cemetery, he said it was actually closer to like 500 pounds. Everything had been transformed into had been transformed into rock. So that's kind of the story of Wild Bill. And in the end, because Calamity Jane was also roaming these areas, when she died, she was buried next to Wild Bill Hickok. It is said during his lifetime he didn't want anything to do with her, but in his death, they buried her next to him. Hi, do you work here? No. Okay. So that's pretty much a brief history of Wild Bill Hickok. Back in the day, this would have been a very, very wild area, outpost. If you look at some of the period pictures, all of these streets were filled with there was a lot of mud, dust, and then you also had horse-drawn carriages going back and forth. This was actually the frontier. It was a frontier town, and people during that period were still moving out west through South Dakota, Colorado, and going out to California. So you can see inside what it looks like. But I believe the original building was demolished, and then this was put on later on. So yeah, and that's from a photograph of Wild Bill Hickok. He escaped from home when he was 18 years old after getting into a fight, and the two boys fell into a river, and he thought he had killed the other guy, and the other kid thought they had killed him. So he was afraid that he would be booked for murder, so he escaped when he was 18 years old. And he became, I believe, a stagecoach driver, and then he picked up a couple of odd jobs. He was a scout for a regiment that was made up of African Americans out in Kansas back in the day, and they fought against the southern states. So it's quite a history for this guy, and yeah, he lived a life. But unfortunately, I believe he was born in 1837. I might be mistaken, and he died in August 1876, and that was when Deadwood was just becoming a very big boom town. So between 1876 to 1879, Deadwood was a big boom town with lots and lots of people going through here. And after that, the town kind of declined. Anyways, thanks for watching, and catch you guys on the next video. Hey, there's one other historic place down here before I sign off. I'll show you guys. It's the Imperial Palace on the right. The car show that took place here is done. So this was closed on May 21st, 1980 by the FBI and state agents. So it's a historic building. And that's the entrance right there. Yeah, this little area, it's really full of a lot of history. Thanks for watching. Catch you guys.